Smash that like button and subscribe right now, because what Triple H just did to Brock Lesnar backstage after Raw will leave you absolutely speechless. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. Triple H, the chief content officer of WWE, the man who runs this entire operation, picked up the phone and called the police on Brock Lesnar. Not the security team, not the locker room agents, the actual police. And if you think you already know the full story, I promise you, you don't. Because what went down in that arena after the cameras stopped rolling is something that nobody in WWE history has ever seen before. Stay locked in, because this story gets darker, uglier, and more explosive with every single detail. Let's set the scene. Raw went off the air and the arena was still buzzing. The fans were filing out, the crew was breaking down the set, and the locker room was still hot, still electric, from one of the most violent, unscripted feeling brawls in recent memory. Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar had already torn the place apart in front of millions of viewers. But when those cameras cut, when that red light went off and the production truck went dark, that's when things escalated to a level that nobody was prepared for. Brock Lesnar did not cool down. That's the first thing you need to understand about this man. Brock Lesnar is not a performer who goes backstage and laughs it off with the boys. He is a legitimate, licensed MMA fighter, a former UFC heavyweight champion, a man who has manhandled human beings for sport his entire life. And when Brock gets fired up, really fired up, the people around him don't try to calm him down. They get out of the way. According to sources close to the situation, Lesnar stormed into the backstage area after the brawl and immediately began escalating. Oba Femi's team had separated from Brock's side of the locker room, but that didn't matter. Brock wasn't finished. He reportedly began shoving production equipment, screaming at personnel, and making it extremely clear that his issue with Oba Femi was far from over. WWE agents, including some of the most experienced veterans in the business, tried to step in and were immediately pushed aside. Not shoved, gently, pushed aside. Trivia question for the comments. Brock Lesnar held the UFC Heavyweight Championship, but do you remember the name of the man he defeated to win that title? Drop your answer below. Now here is where Triple H enters the picture, and this is where the story goes from intense to absolutely nuclear. Triple H was still in the building. He had been in production meetings post-show, which is standard for him. He stays late, he reviews the product, he is hands-on in a way that Vince McMahon arguably never was in his later years. When word reached Triple H about what was happening in the back, he didn't send someone else. He walked down there himself. And what he saw reportedly stopped him cold. Brock Lesnar had cornered a member of WWE's backstage production staff. Not a wrestler, not an agent, a crew member, a regular person just doing their job, and Brock was in his face, screaming, finger pointed, completely unhinged. Triple H stepped in between them and ordered Brock to back down. And for a moment, just a moment, the entire backstage area went completely silent. Now, let's be very clear about something. Triple H is not a small man. He is a former world champion, a man who spent decades in a locker room full of the most physically dominant human beings on earth. He is not easily intimidated. But even Triple H, standing there, face to face with a 280-pound nuclear weapon in Brock Lesnar, reportedly acknowledged afterward that it was one of the most tense moments he had personally experienced inside a WWE building. Brock didn't back down immediately. He held that stare. He held it long enough that Triple H made a decision right there and then that shocked everybody in that hallway. He pulled out his phone, and he called the police. Not security, not WWE's internal team, the local police. The actual law enforcement authorities that were stationed outside the building that night. Think about what that means for a second. Triple H, who built NXT, who has protected talent, who has tried to position himself as the adult in the room after the chaos of the Vince McMahon era, called the cops on one of WWE's biggest legends. One of the most profitable acts in the history of professional wrestling. A man whose name alone sells tickets, moves merchandise, and trends on social media without even trying. And Triple H looked at all of that, looked at all that money, all that history, all that legacy, and said, it doesn't matter. You crossed a line tonight that cannot be uncrossed. When law enforcement arrived backstage, the situation had partially de-escalated. Brock had moved away from the crew member and was in a separate area, but the officers did speak with Lesnar directly. Multiple witnesses were interviewed. The crew member who had been cornered was visibly shaken and gave a statement. And here is the part that is going to have everyone talking for weeks. There is reportedly a discussion happening at the highest levels of WWE about whether Brock Lesnar will ever be permitted to return to a WWE arena again. Not suspended, not fined, banned, Permanently. Trivia question for the comments. Oba Femi is widely considered one of the most dominant rising stars in WWE today, but which championship did he first capture to announce himself to the world? Comment your answer. Let's see who really knows their WWE history. Now let's talk about Oba Femi's role in all of this, because his name is all over this situation and his team is not staying quiet. Oba Femi himself, after being separated from Lesnar, apparently remained composed. That's what makes this entire situation so fascinating and so telling about where the power dynamic in WWE is shifting. Here you have Brock Lesnar, the old guard, the established monster, the man who has terrorized WWE for over 2 decades, completely losing control. And then you have Oba Femi, young, calm, collected, standing in that backstage area with the quiet confidence of a man who knows exactly what he is and exactly where he is going. Femi's team reportedly made it very clear to WWE management that their client handled himself professionally and that any attempt to pin the escalation on Oba would be met with their own legal response. That is a power move. That is a team that knows their leverage. And Triple H apparently heard that message loud and clear, because sources indicate that creative meetings in the days following this incident have been completely reshuffled around Oba Femi's positioning going forward. This is bigger than a backstage fight. This is about a torch being passed, or more accurately, being ripped from someone's hands. Brock Lesnar has spent his entire career making the rules, operating outside the normal boundaries, doing things on his own terms. He has been given more latitude than almost any performer in WWE history. He has shown up when he wanted, left when he wanted, worked the schedule he wanted, and been paid generously for every single appearance. He has operated as an untouchable force, until now, because Triple H calling the police on Brock Lesnar is a message that goes far beyond this one incident. It is Triple H drawing a line in the sand and saying, the era of Brock Lesnar doing whatever he wants inside my company is over. The new WWE, Triple H's WWE, has rules. It has standards. It has a culture that will not be bulldozed by anybody's star power, no matter how bright that star has burned. And let's be honest, the timing of this could not be more significant. We are barreling toward WrestleMania season. The card is stacked. The storylines are hot. The last thing WWE needs right now is a legal situation, a PR nightmare, or a backstage culture story that overshadows everything they have built. Triple H knows that, and by acting fast, by acting decisively, by calling law enforcement and putting it on record, he sent a message to every single person in that locker room. Nobody is above the law. Nobody is above this company's standards. Not even the Beast incarnate. Brock Lesnar's future in WWE has never been more uncertain than it is right now. And Oba Femi's future has never looked brighter. The old monster stumbled. The new monster stood tall. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think WWE should ban Brock Lesnar permanently, or does he deserve one final chance? And if you haven't already, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, because we are going to be covering every single update on this story as it develops. You do not want to miss what comes next.